There's a webcomic that's getting a lot of attention, but not for the reason the creator intended. So the comic series is called Mom's Life Comics, and it's about the struggles of motherhood, which, to be sure, is incredibly challenging, incredibly difficult. Women are expected to do it all. We all know this. They're expected to earn an income. They're expected to clean, cook, engage in the child rearing. During the COVID pandemic, there's supposed to be stay-at-home moms who do homeschooling. I mean, it's just a ton of work, and I understand the frustration. However, the comics seem to mostly target husbands. And I kind of don't like that because, and by the way, it's the same for when men are like, my wife, the old ball and chain. Then don't get married. Don't get married. Okay, no one forced you to do it. Just don't do it. And it's just it's a weird cultural thing that I've never really understood. But here are some examples of the comic that we're referring to here. One of the many differences between me and my husband, the comic says. And so it shows on the left-hand side of the screen, a woman looking at a peach. It's the last peach in the house. And she says, oh, look, the last ripe peach. I'll save it for the kids. They love peaches so much. And then on the other side, you have the husband who's looking at the same peach and thinks, oh, look, the last ripe peach. I'll use it as a special treat in my daily smoothie. So question number one for you, Jessica, and it's not unique to this particular comic series. Aren't they supposed to be funny? Like, even if you don't like the subject matter overall, like you're making a point. I see the point being made, but like, is it supposed to be funny? I don't know.
Yeah, I had the same thought. It's like, oh, that's too bad. You resent your husband. Have you tried making really low effort comics about it? I'm sure that'll make everything better. Problem solved. Totally. They're not funny. It's like, this is what happened. No joke, no punchline, nothing about it's funny. It's just like, I hate my husband. Will someone listen to me? Yeah, I think they need therapy. We're back to daddy issues again, right? Needing therapy, having psychological problems. Communicate with your partner. If they're doing things that you don't like, talk about it. Yeah, why are you making comics about it and posting them online? Come on, man. But thankfully, we know a really good divorce lawyer. Seems like a real peach in West Virginia. You can talk to him about it, hire him, get out of this, and then maybe focus on some other things. Maybe comics aren't your thing. Maybe you'll have a lot of time to do something else or get better at comics if that's really your passion.
Yeah, you touched on why these complaints about spouses is like somewhat triggering to me. It's because, like, all you really need to do, and I know it's easier said than done, and it's not the end all be all solution. It's an ongoing conversation. I know that, but you have to communicate with your partner. You have to enhance that communication. If you're having difficulty communicating, couples therapy is a good idea, because what ends up happening, I think, in a lot of relationships, whether you're married or not, is there are all these little annoyances or certain habits that get under your skin. You might experience it on a regular basis, but if you don't communicate that it's bothering you, you just like hold it in, hold it in, hold it in, and you build this resentment. And I see this happening with so many couples, and then you just kind of explode. And I just think it's better to be communicative, because you can't assume that your partner knows when you're annoyed or knows that you're building this resentment, right? And yes, it took me personally some time to understand this. Some people will see, all right, here's something that needs to be done in the household, right? The floors need to be vacuumed or mopped or whatever. I'm the kind of person, because I have OCD, where I'll see it and I'll do it immediately. No one has to ask me to do it because I see it, it bothers me, I do it. That's not the same for my partner, right? Like, my husband doesn't realize it or notice it. But if I talk to him and say, hey babe, can you help me out? Like, I don't have time to vacuum, the floors really need to be vacuumed. He'll make it happen. Communicate that. And if you have a partner that's not receptive to your needs, then you're not in a good relationship. I think some people just settle. And if you're with the wrong person, you're in for a lifetime of despair, and that's not good. Here's another example, by the way. So it's the husband saying, quote, I'm so excited for my birthday because it's the one day I won't have to do the dishes and make lunches, which, by the way, is a totally reasonable thing to think. And the wife says, does he think he doesn't have to be a parent on his birthday? Interesting. Interesting.
Ridiculous. I love that you bring up settling too, because that's, I think, where a lot of resentment comes from. I would rather be alone than be with someone that I don't want to be with, that bugs me, that they ate a peach and that pisses me off, and I'm gonna make a comic about it and put it on the internet. It's not good. And an interesting policy perspective on this is people are incentivized to marry economically, right?
Yes.
Tax breaks and we wanted to have this nuclear structure where the woman takes care of the husband's the worker. It worked out very well for a very long time. And there are interesting studies out of Sweden where they removed the marriage tax breaks and far less people got married. And so, yeah, it sucks that so many people are settling. I think that's the root of a lot of resentment in relationships.
That's really interesting, the Sweden study that you mentioned, because yeah, I mean, if there are tax breaks, and aside from the tax breaks, like living in a dual income household, there's financial stability that comes along with that. And I don't wanna, forget that or take away from that. But at the same time, you don't wanna end up living with someone who doesn't value you, who doesn't hear you, who doesn't see the relationship as a partnership. And that is what any relationship is supposed to be, whether it's a friendship, boyfriend, girlfriend, same-sex couple, marriage, it doesn't matter, right? It's give and take, it's about compromise, it's about hearing each other out. And I know for a fact that if my way of communicating to my partner was to degrade him in a comic series, it probably isn't gonna yield the results that I want, which is someone who's listening, hearing me out, and trying to help with the issues that I'm having in the household. So let's do 2 more. Okay, let's go to graphic 3 here. Me trying to explain our household dynamic in terms my husband understands. So like, I got a dopey husband who doesn't understand anything other than sports. So she says, on most sports teams, you have a superstar or a playmaker who makes things happen. That's me. Then, by the way, this is a disaster. Do not communicate with your partner this way. Then you often have that person who just stands around waiting for other people to make plays or shoot the ball. That's you. We need you to step up so we can win as a team. Don't communicate that way. It's not a good idea. It's a bad idea. Whether you're male or female, don't do it. Bad.
Sports analogies. She's like, let me speak in terms you understand, babe. Let's talk sports. Jesus, yeah, really rough, really rough.
Let me speak in terms you'll understand. You're a loser and you stand around and do nothing. Like, it's just, get out of that relationship. If you really think that, if you think he's a loser who stands around and does nothing, like move on.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah.
When people say we're a team, it's not like we're a toxic team and you're like a terrible sports coach. That's not what they meant by team, man. You're supposed to work together. And you're both players on the same team. One of you is not the coach of the other player, which is really the energy this gives off. Yeah, I think going back to the Medicare for All point earlier, if people had access to mental health care, they would be able to process maybe where their inability to communicate or communicate resentment in this way comes from. And maybe this was her way of getting it out, right? I need to reflect on what's going wrong in my relationship and what makes me angry. And these comics were made. Maybe other people are learning from this, and I hope that it's a learning experience at the end of the day. But really embarrassing in the meantime.
Totally. And one other thing I'll say is, a lot of people think that they have to go along with what the norms are. The norm is you get married, you have kids, but like stop and ask yourself if that's what you really want. Do you really want to get married? Do you really want to have kids? Because if you're not ready for it, emotionally, financially, whatever it is gonna cause problems in your life. So having children, for instance, I think now for the first time, people are allowing themselves to challenge that norm and decide for themselves whether or not starting a family is right for them and their partner. But for the longest time, no one ever challenged it. And anyone who dared challenge it would be criticized, would be called selfish, would be berated by their family members and friends. And this final final one that I'll read to you reminded me of that because it writes, this Valentine's Day, let's get crazy and try something new. Like you only poop for 5 minutes in the morning, in the AM, and then help me get the kids ready for school. Swoon. I love that my partner can poop for as long as he wants. Like I don't have to worry about getting the kids ready for school. We've had the discussion. Are we ready for this? Do we want kids? We don't want kids. So like having children is very stressful on any relationship. I want you guys to understand that, okay? Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have kids. If you really want them, you should expect the challenge. It's coming. It's gonna be challenging. But if you're not gonna think it through and just kind of go about the motions because that's what the norm is, I think you're gonna have more problems in life as a result. I don't know. I mean, I'm not, by the way, let me be clear. I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm just sharing my personal thoughts and hopefully wisdom.
Yeah, not an expert either, but I concur, right? There's so much pressure to get married, to have a partner, to do the thing. And so many of my friends, right? I'm in my mid-20s and I see people doing the thing, getting engaged, having the perfect wedding, just to do the thing. And you can tell when they're your friends and you care about them that they don't really love that person. And that's sad, right? That because there's this pressure, they're doing something that's not actually in their self-interest. And it sucks that it is a societal problem, right? It's societal norms. It's not like they're making this decision, by complete accident. They've been taught that this is the thing that you do. Many young girls are taught, oh, what do you picture for your wedding day? We're taught to aspire to marriage from such a young age. And like, I remember leaving college, being with a serious boyfriend. Thank God I didn't stay in that relationship. I really wasn't happy until I forgot everything that was expected of me and did what I really wanted to do. And it's never too late to do that, even if you're in an unhappy marriage. Like I said, great divorce lawyer in West Virginia. Seems like a really charming guy. You can call him. It's never too late to live your life how you want to live it.
Yeah, just don't go to him if you're trying to collect child support because he's not in favor of that. But I will say, now the woman behind these comics wants to make clear that she loves her husband, that the descriptions of her post, it doesn't necessarily come across in her comics that she loves her husband because she's usually targeting him in negative ways in her comics. But she did write this, so I wanted to share it just so we're fair to her. She says, before I go any further into my own experience with this frustrating subject, I should say that this post is not a critique of Ben at all. Ben is an amazing father and husband. He carries quite a mental load himself and does a lot around the house. He cooks all of our dinners. He does almost all of our grocery shopping. He pays all of our bills and maintains our yard. He does his own laundry. What? 3 nights per week, he comes home from work and immediately handles all evening Charlie May duties while I head out to teach yoga. Nah, you lost me, lady. What inspired these like terrible comics, like this terrible comic series? Like if he does all that, then what? I don't get it.
We're kind of on her side for a minute there. We're giving her the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I think this is a weird thing where she's like, oh no, now people think I have a bad husband.
Yeah,
and that's weird, and I need to dismantle that. Kind of strange. And we should make clear that like the comics who do the stand-up routines, that I hate my wife stuff, that's bad as well. This is just what we're talking about right now. But the fact that she made this post, he seems not so bad. I agree with her. And so it's like, where's this resentment coming from?
Totally.
That's what needs to be unpacked.
You guys got to work it out, girl. You got to work it out. Don't want to be too harsh toward her either. We're not in her household. We don't know the reality of anything in their personal relationship, but she's airing it. And that's gonna lead to commentary, it's gonna lead to feedback. And she doesn't like the feedback. Final graphic here where she says, when a woman says anything on the internet, she gets attacked. Well, you're attacking your husband through your comic series and you're gonna get feedback on that. And you have to expect people sharing their thoughts on the work that you're doing. Sometimes it's harsh, sometimes it's difficult. but just be kinder to each other. That's all I'm gonna say.
And kids are on the internet now. Imagine this, like, hey, I heard that you guys are fighting. It's viral. Imagine their friends talk about it at school because they hear their parents talking about it. Oh my gosh, these poor kids.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.